straight out to London. Whoa, AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money. Yeah, got my dick sucked and I left the whip running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in a dealer, bought a lamb all of a sudden. Whoa, all of a sudden naked wrist is all flooded. Kill. I got a white bitch hooked on gelatin. Ooh, I need syrup at the doctor, I'm coughing. In the ER with an FM and I get this shit poppin'. Off for 30, I start tweaking, I put you in the coffin. On guard, mama told me, Lil Pump, stop doing drugs. I'ma keep on sipping, walk hard till I do not wake up. Took a PJ to Las Vegas when I turned 21. I'ma pull up to your front door like if I was a nun. Bitch, I didn't tell you, my grandma's a scammer. Walked through TSA and I had a hammer. My baby mama talking back to me, I'm a smacker. You flexing guns in them videos, you a actor. What? All of a sudden throwing 50s and 100s. Ooh, took a jet and I flew straight out to London. Whoa, AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money. Yeah, got my dick sucked and I left the whip running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in a dealer, bought a lamb all of a sudden. Whoa, all of a sudden naked wrist is all flooded. Kill. Out here shooting a video, but all of a sudden, yeah, Sirskies. Oh! All of a sudden throwing 50s and 100s. Ooh, took a jet and I flew straight out to London. Whoa, AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money. Yeah.
Omar, the director.
I look in the mirror and look at a killer. I grew up with niggas crop you out the picture. Bodies get stacking up year after year. Got the young niggas thinking they serial killers. Tongue choppers with switches, they scratch off the cereal. Left blood in the whip, it fucked up its interior. Watch what you say, cause this shit can get real. And watch how you move unless you made a steal. Shot in the car and I got the wheel. These niggas on with, they got bodies for real. I thought you got out, he did 20 some years. He took it to trial, but he lost his appeal. I went to school, some serial killers. They breaking your house, they need serial with you. The same nigga cut first period with you. Watch who you trust, they might be out to get you. And one wrong step, you get put in the switch. Say the wrong thing, get put in the backwood. Wipe a nigga no tissue. Bless him. Last nigga tried me, found in the back. Ain't none of these crews more vicious. Just play a good role and they sure can't act good. Putting folks in my business. Nigga spoke on my name and got smoked like a pack of wood. My shooter a cheater, we stalking the prey. If he get caught, ain't no walking away. And we ain't doing no talking, just talk to the K. These limited niggas been staying they places. They like to play games and they know don't play. Playing with WAP, it ain't nobody safe. It won't be no more racks and nobody safe. Humans got angels just watching from heaven. Wasn't his time, he got shot in the face. Mainline say got caught on the 70. Thinking about dropping a tape on the 80. These niggas ain't real, these niggas some fakes. That pressure put on these niggas a break. Free every artist behind the gate that made a mistake. Hell, give him a break. Who tryna parole out, they gave him a date. He getting impatient, he trying to wait. The district attorney keep trying to hate. He fighting the feds and fighting the state. I did some time with some sick-minded niggas. Stabbed in his cell and left blood on the pillow. Free all the hitters, they kept it official. Not the ones in the booth that turned serial killer.
I've given up this time. I don't like the way that you're holding me up.
I'm telling the truth when I'm teaching to you.
But I'm alive.
You need to get caught and start telling the truth. Serial killers on the gram and in the booth.
I don't like the way that you're holding me up. It hurts when I'm alive.
Big walk.
Alive on this earth 'cause you think that you've created.
Hey everyone, welcome. We are just going to wait for another couple of minutes, and then when Jazzy arrives, we'll get started. We have a very nice lineup today, so we'll get into it in just a moment. Thanks for your patience, and buckle up. Awesome. So it looks like Jazzy is here, Jazeer is here. Before we get started, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time today to attend. We're extremely proud and excited about hosting this event. The launch of PMTP was a monumental event for both the Sifgang team and the community, and we know that our community is an incredibly passionate and dedicated group. For those of you that have been part of this community for some time, the launch of PMTP and its effects may not have been a surprise, because we've been talking about it since the beginning of the year. But the way that PMTP works still may be presenting some questions. So if throughout this call you do have any questions, please raise them. We have a pretty tight
Walked in the dealer, bought a lamb all of a sudden. Whoa, all of a sudden, naked wrists all flooded. Kill. I got a white bitch hooked on gelatin. Ooh, I need syrup at the doctor. I'm coughing. In the ER with a FM and I get this shit poppin'. Off for 30, I start tweaking, I put you in the coffin. On guard, mama told me, Lil' Pump, stop doing drugs. I'ma keep on sippin', walk hard till I
schedule, but we do have a 90-minute call, so we should have people time to reflect. And while this call is primarily about PMTP and touches on cryptocurrency as well, it's worth pointing out that there's a lot more to Sifgang than these crypto-economic features. We have a very large and talented team working in various areas, including Peggy2 and Deep Margin as well. Even for PMTP, this is only the beginning of a long road ahead. And while launch went off relatively smoothly, there were some issues to address as well regarding both bugs and communications and education. The past 2 weeks have made it clear to us that more education is needed around PMTP, and that was the primary motivation for this call. During this call, we'll cover an introduction to DeFi and automated market makers, an introduction to crypto economics and liquidity mining, SIF's ascension, an intro to PMTP, a PMTP deep dive, PMTP governance, community concerns and criticisms of PMTP, and some stuff about the future of Sifgang. And to kick it off, Jazeer, do you have any comments?
No, let's get into it. Excited to see everybody. Oh wait, am I live? Oh wait. So I'm actually going to try and hop in with my... I'm actually going to try and see if I can also hop in with the iPad as well, so that I can draw. But even if I... just give me a sec here. Yeah, so I mean, I guess there's a lot to kind of talk about. PMCP is like brought a lot of success to the project. We've seen obviously the price of Rowan go up, and obviously like purchasing power can influence price, or is like kind of related to price, but it's not quite the same thing. And we have sort of noticed that even outside of the like a purchasing power adjustment for Rowan, we're still seeing a net price increase, which it signifies that like people are interested in being long the external liquidity on Sifchain now. Like I think like 20% plus more now, or more than there was prior to this feature. Which means I know there was some risk about people thinking, hey, there's going to be actually a reduction in external liquidity, but we're seeing quite the opposite. TVL go up again, external liquidity in addition to internal liquidity. Something that I've noticed also is like increase in market cap. There's a massive adoption in comparison to other projects in the Cosmos ecosystem. So it's nice to see that support from the broader Cosmos community, and then we're also actually getting increased inflow on capital in Mapo zones. I think Sifchain usually floated somewhere in the top 10 off on the lower side, which is great even prior to PMCP. Now we're in the top 5 pretty consistently. I think I just recently saw actually we're the number 2 chain for inflows. So of all the chains in the Cosmos network, we are the second most received token. Or the chain that's receiving the second most tokens in the entire Cosmos network. So that's really, really exciting. That's just for today, but we expect we will see awesome things like this continue over time. Yeah, like these are all really, really solid positives. We've certainly seen some negatives with things like the ledger issue, which I believe we're working on. There's an active, there's a proposal up to resolve that issue. There's issues with the front end which we've been addressing. There's issues with ads which we're addressing. There's just a bunch of random features that had concerns, and so I want to say on behalf of the entire team that we really appreciate you guys bearing with us as we kind of get past those problems. Like one of the issues that we noted in internal conversations are like how we sort of address these kinds of things in the future. And the expectation, I would say, is that people and like iterate more over time and do education, and that's kind of the purpose of this call. I'm actually looking at an agenda here, and it looks like we've got like quite a bit planned. So do we have Dr. Nomad in the office?
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, real quick before we get started, I don't know if it's intentional that your screen is black. I didn't know if you were sharing something or...
No, I'm not really sharing.
Okay.
I'm trying to get my iPad in here because I want to draw. So I believe I am now also live on iPad.
Got my dick sucked and I left her with running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in the dealer bar, all of a sudden. All of a sudden, naked wrists all flooded. I got a white bitch hooked on the line. I need syrup at the doctor. I'm coughing in the ear with an FM and I get this shit poppin'. For 30, I start tweaking, I put you in the coffin.
How this section is going to work is I'll ask you some questions here,
I'ma keep on sipping, walk hard till I do not wake up. Took a PJ to Las Vegas when I turned 21. I'ma pull up to your front door like if I was a nun. Bitch, I didn't tell you, my grandma's a scammer. Walked through TSA and I had a hammer. My baby mama talking back to me, I'm a smacker. You flexing guns in the videos, you an actor. What? All of a
So in
sudden
automated
throwing
marketing,
50s and hundreds.
my iPad is actually on.
Took a jet and I flew straight out to London.
So I think I'm just gonna show you
AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She
the way
wanna
that,
fuck me just
automated
because I
marketing
got
works
money.
is,
Yeah, got my
they
dick
allow
sucked and
for
I left the whip running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in the dealer,
and
bought
then
a
essentially
lamb
allow
all of a
the market
sudden.
to trade against those
All of a
tokens.
sudden, naked wrist is
You
all
might put up
flooded.
something like Bitcoin and then what will happen is users can buy Bitcoin by selling ETH, buy ETH by selling Bitcoin, and you don't own a specific like, number of tokens per se. You own if you're a liquidity provider.
All of a sudden, throwing 50s and hundreds.
And so,
Took a
you know,
jet
if,
and
you know,
I flew
average
straight
you
out
and
to
Nomad
London.
and I each go in.
AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit.
Each of us will own
She wanna
33%
fuck me
of
just
the
because I got money.
So if people swap and they buy and they sell, they're still going to, we still each own 33% of the pool because we each put in the same amount, although we might withdraw not the same amount of Bitcoin and ETH as we put in, because as users add one token, they're removing another token. So the functions that people use for deciding those swaps
Not balanced.
by which we're addressing login as positives. We've certainly seen some rooted in internal conversations are like how we sort of address these kinds of things in the future. And the expectation I would say is that we want to get more feedback from people and like iterate more over time and do education. That's kind of the purpose of this call. I'm actually looking at an agenda here, and it looks like we've got like, quite a bit planned. We have Dr.
Took a
Nomad.
jet and I flew straight out to London.
Yeah.
AR-15, that bitch
All right,
came
Here,
with a drum
real
kit.
quick before we get started, I don't know if it's
She wanna fuck me
intentional
just
that
because
you're
I got money.
black. I
Yeah,
didn't know if you were
got
sharing
my dick
something
sucked
or...
and I left
No, I'm
the
not
whip
really.
running. I wanna
Okay,
fuck
okay.
her
Trying to get my iPad in here
and
so
the
when I
cousin.
talk.
Okay, walked in the
So I
dealer,
believe
bought a
I am
lamb
now
all of a sudden.
also live
Whoa.
on iPad.
All of a sudden, naked wrist is all flooded. Kill. I got a white bitch hooked on gelato.
Are you in the
Ooh.
same account?
I need syrup
Yeah,
at the
so- yeah,
doctor,
that's
I'm
weird, but I have to, like,
coughing.
somehow
In
log
the
in.
ER with an FM and I get this shit poppin'. Off for 30, I'll start tweaking, I put you in the coffin.
also
Oh
if you wanna
God,
just
mama
make it
told me,
account.
Lil Pump, stop doing
You have a
drugs.
file,
I'ma
we'll
keep
figure it
on
out, but,
sipping, walk
Nomad,
until
why
I
don't
do
you take
not
it
wake
away?
up. Took a PJ to Las Vegas when I turned 21.
Alright, so how this section is going to work is I'll ask you some questions here, and then
I
you
didn't
will
tell
you
you,
can
my grandma's a
answer them, and
scammer.
then if Nomad has any questions for you about your
TSA
answer,
and I had a hammer.
Nomad just
My
fire
baby
them off.
mama talking back to me, I'm a smacker.
Alright, so the
Flexing
first
guns
question,
in
and
the
it's a pretty basic
videos,
question,
you were acting.
yeah,
What?
R&D
All of a
and
sudden,
so
throwing
what is an
50s and
AMM? What
hundreds.
is an automated
Took a
market?
jet and I flew straight out to London. Whoa. AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money. Yeah, got my dick sucked and I left the whip running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in the dealer, bought a lamb all of a sudden. Whoa, all of a sudden, naked wrist is all flooded. Kill.
To offer two tokens and then essentially allow the market to trade against those two tokens. So you might put up something like Bitcoin, and then what will happen is users can buy Bitcoin by selling ETH, buy ETH by selling ETH. And you don't own any specific
AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money.
And so, if Abra, you and Nomad and I each go in and we put in one Bitcoin and one ETH each, then each of us will own 33% of the total pool. And so if people swap and they buy and they sell, they're still going to, we still each own 33% of the pool because we each put in the same amount, although we might withdraw not the same amount of Bitcoin and ETH as we put in, because as users add one token, they're removing another token. So the functions that people use for deciding those swaps are novel, right? That's a place of
All of a sudden,
so
throwing
there are all
50s
sorts of
and
functions
hundreds.
that exist. I think that's
Took a jet and I flew straight out to London.
Actually, there is
AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money. Yeah, got my dick sucked and I left the whip running. I wanna fuck her and the cousin. Okay, walked in the dealer, bought
very first.
I need syrup at the doctor, I'm coughing. In the ER with an FM and I get this shit poppin'. Off for 30, I start tweaking, I put you in the coffin. On guard, mama told me, Lil Pump, stop doing drugs. I'ma keep on sipping, walk hard till I do not wake up. Took a PJ to Las Vegas when I turned 21. I'ma pull up to your front door like if I was a nun. Bitch, I didn't tell you, my grandma's a scammer. Walk through TSA and I had a hammer. My baby mama talking back to me, I'ma smack you. You flexing guns in the videos, you were active. What? All of a sudden throwing 50s and 100s. Ooh. Took a jet and I flew straight out to London. Whoa. AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit.
I know, man, I don't know if you were talking
She wanna
about
fuck
this, so
me just because I got money.
Yeah. So,
Got my
given
dick
that
sucked and I
AMM,
left the whip running. I wanna fuck her,
how do they stay
cousin.
balanced?
Okay,
It's
walked
been a
in the
large
dealer,
topic.
bought a
How
lamb
does
all of a
they-
sudden. Whoa.
Yeah, how do
All of
AMM
a
stay
sudden,
balanced?
naked wrist is all flooded. Kill.
Well, balance is like an interesting sort of, because
Out here shooting a video
one definition
for all of a sudden. Yeah, sir, Steve.
Total number of tokens you came on one side or the other.
All of a sudden, throwing 50s and 100s. Took a jet and I flew straight out to London. Whoa. AR-15, that bitch came with a drum kit. She wanna fuck me just because I got money.
It was actually skewed, so it was imbalanced in terms of number of tokens. But most likely what they're going to do is they're going to keep selling the ETH to buy Bitcoin until the amount of Bitcoin in the pool in comparison to the amount of ETH in the pool matches the price of ETH in Bitcoin, or the price of Bitcoin in ETH. And after that point, it no longer really makes sense to deviate from that by continuing to say sell and or trade beyond that ratio, because you're just going to end up losing money, right? Unless maybe you're somehow long one of the assets and you believe that somehow like this is ideal. But there's this implicit expectation that all of the markets in the cryptocurrency industry, and there are like hundreds at least at this point, all of them will have basically the same prices. So it wouldn't really make sense to sell for less on one exchange when you could just sell for a higher amount on another exchange. And so arbitrage, which is happening on a very, very frequent basis for even very, very small amounts of money, arbitrage is what kind of is the lifeblood of this exchange network, and it keeps all of the prices on all of the exchanges equal. Now, there is this concept, actually, we discussed a little bit more in the AMM specification document, of pools that do not have a 50% weight on either side. So here we actually discuss a constant product market maker with a fee, where instead of moving exactly on the curve, you move a little bit higher than the curve, because you're leaving some fee here, to the liquidity providers. And then there's some concept of the Thorchain slip-based fee, which Sifgang has also adopted, and there's a little math around that. And there's this idea here of virtual depth, which I think is interesting, which has analogies to these non-uniform pools for Balancer, which is a bit how we got some inspiration for PMTP. So let me take a quick look here. I don't think this is necessarily the best way to do it. I could just go to the Balancer white paper. Sir, white paper. Here we go. Right. So if you take a look at something like this, then they have this structure that they call the weight, WI and then WO, for the weight of the token I and the weight of the token O. And basically, this just means that the token is no longer at a 50-50 ratio. So whether you're using these A and B, these coefficients here, or you use what in Balancer is actually like an exponent in the in-out formula. So with Balancer, you've got these exponents here. It doesn't really matter. You kind of get the same effect, which is some idea that the pools themselves may be, say, 60-40. So I'm going back to this idea of a weighted pool. Let's say you've got, I don't know, $100 worth of USDC and $100 worth of ETH in a pool. You could say that that's evenly weighted, assuming that the pool weights are 50-50. You could also have $200 worth of USDC and $100 worth of ETH. And you could still say that this is balanced. By balanced, what I mean is that selling ETH to buy the USDC is not profitable. But how's that the case if we said that there's $200 worth of USDC on one side of the pool and only $100 worth of ETH on the other side? The reason is that the pool itself is imbalanced. So instead of being 50-50, it's a 2-to-1 ratio, like 66-33. And you could have any kinds of weights that you want. So when we think about balance, obviously the number of tokens is not really what anyone cares about. It's really the pricing of the tokens. The pricing is balanced through arbitrage, but then the balance also can be relative to the prices if we just have a pool that we know is imbalanced through some kind of weighting structure.
Hey, Nomad, did you have a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm sorry about that earlier. I thought I was talking and then I wasn't. So the question I have, and sorry if my questions are super kind of like very simple compared to all these equations and stuff on the screen. I was wondering if the pools are not balanced. Why would it be appealing to be in one that has right now like Rowan? Wouldn't everyone want to just get in a pool that has more Rowan, and how unbalanced can they get once we start allowing asymmetrical trading again?
Okay, so I guess there's a lot to kind of unpack there. So as a trader, you shouldn't really care about the balance of the pool, because when you swap, you're going to get the market value for the tokens. So if you have like a highly imbalanced pool, like 9999 to 1, let's just say, right, something really ridiculous like that. As long as the price that you get when you swap on either side is like the same as you would get on another exchange, then you're happy. As a pooler, you may have some influence. So it kind of determines like how much you want to pool, right? For something like PMTP, there's this expectation that people are long Rowan as poolers, and so they're fine with earning rewards in Rowan, and they're fine with also like pooling asymmetrically in Rowan. But that's a calculus that people have to kind of come to do for themselves. To the extent that there is this sort of concern with like how imbalanced the pools are, you have all these liquidity mining rewards, or you have long-term loyalty to the project, or so on, things like that kind of make you want to pool asymmetrically as well of the pools, depending on your like specific portfolio allocation goals. When you think about asymmetric adds, basically there's a way where you can choose to add liquidity that is not with the pool ratio. So this is where things get a little complicated, and our UI needs like additional clarity. So we have most projects like Uniswap will ask you to pool equally, meaning the amount of the token on one side and the amount of token on the other side should be the same in terms of value. So you want to add $50 of ETH and $50 of USDC, or $100 of ETH and $100 of USDC. And if you don't have the exact equal amounts, then you're going to have to swap in order to get the equal amounts. And that is a step, that's a few clicks. Nobody really wants to do those clicks. Wouldn't it be great if you could just bundle the swap with the add at the same time? So that's what this asymmetric add feature is like. Really, it's a symmetric add. It's just there's a swap that does the exact amount to be added, and then there's a symmetric add afterwards. So we'll re-enable that feature. There's this idea that like, because the pools themselves are asymmetric, are imbalanced, let's say already, like they're maybe instead of 50-50, they're like 55-45 or whatever, that like you want to add in the ratio of those assets. But that's kind of like something that's not really going to the actual underlying like mechanisms of where the pool is balanced. That's really just a convenient way to swap. This asymmetric add feature comes back, we'll probably be calling it like pool at pool ratio rather than pool at 50-50 ratio, just so people are aware of like what adding asymmetrically does. It's going to execute some kind of swap, but that swap will be against the pool ratio, so that when you're adding equal value on either side given the existing pool ratio.
And I will use that as a segue into kind of our next basic DeFi question. So we'll take a step back here for a moment. And so we hear a lot of people talking about impermanent loss, or IL. And so what is IL, and how can it affect liquidity providers' portfolios?
Yeah. So first of all, the term impermanent loss is a bit misleading for a lot of reasons. In the sort of traditional kind of finance space, they call it toxic flow or toxic order flow. And essentially, it's where you are better off not making a trade. So let's say, for example, that you own like $100 worth of ETH and $100 worth of USDC, and then you pool those two assets. And then the price of ETH goes up across all markets. So people are selling their USDC and they're buying their ETH. Well, if you never pooled and you had $100 worth of ETH and $100 worth of USDC, but no one was able to swap against those things, then actually you would have been better off. You would have made more money, or kept, or let's say retained more money. And so people consider it a loss because it's not that you say lost money outright, but you not gained as much as you would have otherwise, because the price of ETH has kind of gone up. And so this is like a weird sort of allocation question, right? If you don't want to be exposed to this risk, then you can just never pool your assets, but then you're also never going to be able to get liquidity mining rewards or swap fees. And different people kind of need to like think about how they pool their assets to decide like what they believe is potential IL risk. But frankly, like the kind of thing is very difficult. If you really want to do all that math, then like, you are probably not in an automated market maker, which is what AMM is short for, and you're probably not like a real market maker. It's just way too involved for most and it's called impermanent, but it's not really impermanent unless you unless the prices go back down. If the prices do kind of revert to where they were when you officially added liquidity, then yes, the change is permanent. Otherwise, it's effectively like permanent. So yeah, I know there were some concerns about IL and PMTP, and like PMTP does not induce IL, so maybe that's a later question to kind of address. But I hope that's a good definition for what IL is.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for everyone that's listening as well, this conversation, we're kind of starting at a basic level and we're going to ramp up quite a bit. Nomad, did you have any questions about the IL comment?
No, not so much about the IL comment. I just wanted to let you guys know, though, if there is a question you guys have about a specific like subject we're discussing, you can just message me on Discord or put it in the general chat. I'll be keeping up with that.
Yeah, and we do have an Ask a Question section as well, and we do have some good questions in there. So, Jazir, here's a question that says, does a different ratio in a pool affect slippage?
Well, I guess it depends on what the ratio is. The answer more or less is no for PMTP and no for Balancer. So with something like Balancer, the ratio is fixed. So they have maybe like a 70-30 pool, it will always be 70-30. And in that sense, there isn't really a direct effect on slipping because you know, the pool just has a sort of a skewed like ratio, but the actual trades themselves like occur against, like the slippage is really determined by like the amount of liquidity that is available in the pool. So if you had like $1 billion worth of assets on either side, let's say it's a 66-33 pool, and there's like $1 billion worth of assets on one side and $2 billion worth of assets on the other side. Because there's so much liquidity, you're going to get very low slippage. So that's kind of like the bigger driver. It's like the amount of liquidity in the pool, not really the ratio of the pools. If PMTP was implemented, so it's like I don't know, like 1,000% per block changes or something like that, then yeah, you would end up with like crazy slippage, because you know people would start out with a ratio of like say 50-50, and then they get to a ratio of like 55-55, and then like 60-30 or 60-40, and then 65-35 or something insane like that. Like yeah, things like that would definitely induce slippage. The way PMTP works, the changes are extremely incremental, so they happen on a per block basis, and you know, for I think 5% per day, that's like 0.00002.8% per block, and so the shifts are like smaller than any slippages anyway. So for that reason, also it doesn't affect slippage. But yes, in some hypothetical case where there were massive changes to the ratio on an ongoing basis, then that would actually reduce slippage.
And then also I saw Tim, I saw your question. we'll get to it a little bit later. I think that, and maybe if you can try rephrasing your question a little bit as well. I don't. Yeah, if you can just send that question with a little bit different wording, it would help us answer it. And so moving on to the next section, we're going to talk a little bit about the context around which PMTP was born, or what inspired it. And so the question is how do DEXs attract, in the past, how did DEXs attract liquidity? And can you just give us a brief overview of the history of decentralized exchanges attracting liquidity, and I guess DeFi in general from that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, there's this notion that a decentralized exchange allows you to trade assets and also allows liquidity providers to passively earn swap fees. So projects like Bancor and Uniswap and Curve were really at the vanguard of this. And all that, just that by itself is actually really interesting. And then there became this meme among investors called the liquidity black hole. This was kind of popularized by an early Thorchain investor, but has really like application to any DEX, and also was like sort of memed around for like all DEXs. Basically, the idea is if people trade on DEXs, then they will give up swap fees to liquidity providers, and those swap fees are revenue for liquidity providers, and because that revenue will then be like a way for them to earn more money. So it's better off for you to pool your money on a DEX than it is to just keep your liquidity idle. And the more liquidity that's added, the bigger trades that can be made. And so that like would then lead to higher swap fees, and then more liquidity being added, and thus you get this black hole effect. So you basically are like sucking up all this liquidity from the world, I guess. And that thesis did not actually pan out, right? It's not that if you build a decentralized exchange, then you end up like taking all of the GDP of like all nation states. Because what actually happens is if you do an asymmetric if you do pooling, if you add liquidity, then you're actually diluting everyone else in the pool, and because they are getting a set amount of swap fees, and that's not spread across a larger number of traders. So actually, like, you have to have larger trade sizes. But like, there's only so many traders in the world, and as the number of DEXs increase, they can have increasingly large numbers of places to trade. Actually, some sort of market analysis that we've been discussing internally that I think is worth sharing with people is the ratio of market caps of DEXs to the actual TVL. So I'm going to do a quick screen share here and go to CoinGecko. And so if I look at CoinGecko here, I can see something like QuickSwap, and then maybe I'll pull up Saber as well, and maybe like there are a few others that all kind of fall in this, but I'll just pull up these two for now to keep it simple, and then maybe something like Uniswap. So if I go to Uniswap and I look at the market cap of this token and the trading volume, let's forget this, but let's actually look at the exchange. So the Uniswap DEX, you can go for maybe V3, and then I wonder if Saber Exchange is listed here. So we got the exchange itself, and it's not like the best structure here. Not bad. So basically what you're seeing here is like there's $34 million worth of trading activity happening on a 24-hour basis. And you've got roughly like $715 million worth of trading. So say 34 divided by 715 gives you something like 4.7% turnover, meaning like 4.7% of the liquidity on QuickSwap is traded on a per day basis. If you compare that to something like Uniswap has $1.7 billion of trading volume against 7.6 billion in TVL. So something like 1.7 over 1.7 over 7.6. So Uniswap has a 22% turnover, meaning that like there's way more turnover on Uniswap, which is weird because Uniswap is a centralized is an exchange on Ethereum which has high gas fee. So you'd imagine that like an exchange like QuickSwap, which is on Polygon, which has lower transaction fees, might get higher rewards, but that's not quite the case. I think something is probably similar with Saber. We've got like 52 mil against 300 mil liquidity. So that's roughly like a sixth, let's say. So you're like 12%, let's say, turnover. And again, Saber on Solana like should be much faster. Like what's going on there? Well, what's basically happening is Uniswap as a popular exchange has attracted a lot of traders, and these like traders are not going as much to execute their trade volume on these other exchanges like QuickSwap or Saber. And you'll notice something similar for other exchanges like Astro or Trader Joe or wherever else. They all kind of follow the same pattern. The reason for that is the reason for the low trading volume is just that people are really attracted to Uniswap and not as attracted to QuickSwap and Saber because of effectively its first mover advantage. And that correlates to like whale activity. Like there are more ETH whales than there are Polygon whales or Solana whales. And the ETH whales are kind of long ETH, so they want to stay in the Ethereum ecosystem. They're also like accustomed to Uniswap, and so there's a lot to do with that. But then if that's the case, then why is there so much TVL on QuickSwap, right? There's for all SifChain success, the TVL on QuickSwap is huge. It's like $700 million here. The liquidity on Saber is really huge. You notice these market caps are really low, but the